to another episode of the Positive Triad podcast. And today we have a guest speaker of none other than the Cameron Foremaster.
I'm happy to be here, guys.
So we'll jump into talking about Cameron a little bit, but first we want to start off with a positive story. We always try and share just a little story from the world, the community, wherever we find it. So today, actually, this story is actually comes from kind of my family. My dad is a dental technician by trade. He did that our whole life growing up, and so he does like dentures and crowns and stuff. Kind of does work for dentists around the Southern Utah area. So there's this, and we also own a pawn shop. So one day, this guy walks into a pawn shop, and he's an old friend of my dad's, and he had a really rough lifestyle. He got involved in drugs, throughout his whole life, and just had a bunch of crazy stories of how rough his life was. He got talking to me and my dad, and him and my dad grew up together. My dad later told me that he was like one of the smartest guys that he'd ever met. Just had a brain like a genius, and like he always knew that he would go places, but unfortunately he kind of got involved in these other bad habits and kind of took over his life. But so he came in to talk to my dad, and because he was missing all of his teeth from this drug lifestyle he led, and he pulled my dad aside and he's like, you know what? I feel like I don't have any self-confidence just because of my appearance. I'm missing all my teeth. I feel like I could get all these jobs, and I have a smart mind. I have all these talents and skills, but because of that one little thing that he was missing, he felt like people judged him, and I'm sure a lot of people did.
Oh yeah.
So long story short, my dad kind of helped him and covered the cost of making dentures for him, and after a few weeks he came back and it was true. I think I even not purposely, but I kind of judged him at first. I'm like, whoa, man, he's a rough guy. But when he came back, he had a full set of teeth, a really vibrant, good-looking smile, and it totally changed the appearance of him. And then months went by, and he came back again, and he kept giving us all his updates, and one thing led to another. And I think just that little change boosted his self-confidence, which in turn created all these opportunities. So, and that's, and I don't know, it's one of those things where I think subconsciously we do judge people without even realizing it based on those little things. So it was kind of a cool learning moment for me on little things do make a difference, especially in people's self-confidence, and that kind of ties into what we're going to talk about today, which is self-confidence. But that always left an impression on me, that little simple story. And it was cool how it was firsthand, how I was able to experience someone that went through a tough life and was able to change things around just by one simple little fix. But for him, it was
life-changing.
Yeah, it was life-changing,
Yeah,
exactly. But
shout out to your dad for that. And it's kind of funny that, give me 30 seconds here. He did the exact same thing for my aunt.
Actually. Oh, really?
So they went to school together.
Uh-huh.
And she was down for their, I don't know, they're getting pretty old now, so probably like their 50th graduation, whatever it was, right? But she had to have a tooth pulled in the front. And she came down, and all of a sudden he called her over and made a tooth for her.
He's that kind of guy.
That's awesome.
And it was one of her front teeth, so
it's a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Talking about self-confidence, if you even think about how embarrassing it is when you find out that you had a piece of pepper in your teeth.
Exactly.
Or broccoli.
But like, if you're actually losing it, like, that's a big deal.
I know, and I'm kind of self-conscious about my teeth because I had braces when I was in high school, and when I got them off, he's like, hey, wear your retainer faithfully. I never did. Yeah. Never wore once. They kind of shifted back. I'm like, maybe I should get back on. But no, I can, little things like that. But it's a big deal for people. But so we're going to talk about self-confidence today. We're going to jump a little more into that. And but first, let's talk about Cameron. We got some questions for you.
Let's do it.
I don't know. Give us a little synopsis about your life. I know you grew up in Enterprise, but tell us a little about from high school on and what you've been involved in and what your hobbies are, stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. So high school on, I moved down to St. George like most people do and was working a sales job. And then I started dating a girl that was actually in high school still. She was over 18, but she was in high school still here, and we dated. And after she graduated and whatnot, we ended up married. And not even a month later, found out she was pregnant. Like, that was not in our plan, but it happened, right? So we had our first son 11 months into the marriage, and then we got thinking, like, we need to go back home, and so I was lucky enough to find a job here in Enterprise, and we were able to move back and had a second kid and ended up divorced. It happens.
It happens.
And long story short, single for a couple years and got married again. And at that time I found a job that I work at now, and I love it. I've always loved cars. My dad got me into cars forever ago, and so I'm able to do marketing, and I do all the interviews and, on camera things and all the design, whatever, for Speed Tech Performance. And so basically we're a vintage muscle car company, and we do all the chassis, suspension, we build cars. We have a race team of like 40 cars, and so I've literally got to travel the world over the past 4.5 years.
So cool.
And and I'm one of those lucky guys who's actually been divorced twice. So that's on my resume. But and so now I'm just, I'm a dad. I've got 3 kids now, and everything comes down to how do I provide the best life for my kids, whether it's monetarily or memories or both,
Yeah, anything.
But yeah, that's me. I love cars, and I get to do it every day for a job, so I'm pretty lucky.
Yeah, it's cars are one of those things that I know that you are. That's your life. But you're into music as well.
Music, yeah. So I collect guitars. I've played guitar since second grade's when I got my first one. Didn't really start playing until like 4th or 5th grade.
Yeah.
But yeah, I.
Do you ever play with any groups or anything?
I used to. My siblings, we're all pretty musical. So we used to have a little family band, but once you get married and kids, things happen, I've sat in a little bit on a few things, and I've got some friends in the industry, actually.
Have you guys recorded anything?
I haven't for
Should.
years. I have previously, like with my family a little bit, but I've got a friend who lives in Nashville, and he actually, like when we were in high school, had a pretty popular song. He was #1 actually, and I met him through the car world.
Oh wow!
And he's kind of given me an open invitation to, if you're ever in town, like
take it,
get
let's
together,
go.
So I've got a couple trips to Nashville planned the rest of this year, and so who knows what'll happen. I'd love to. It's a hobby. It's more than anything, it's a therapy for me. I have like this morning, no matter what, even though we're friends, like I've known Dan
since high school,
shoot forever. I've known you for 10+ years. You still get a little bit of nerves and whatever, and so like right before I came here, the kids were eating breakfast, and I just plugged in a guitar and just played for a little while. It just brings it down,
I hate talking on camera, so I need to figure out some hobby to cool my nerves. That's
or
cool.
I get home from a stressful day at work or whatever. I either hop on my motorcycle or I break out a guitar. It's a therapy for me. It's a way to release. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So motorcycle, guitars, cars.
Yeah, and kids.
Got the whole package, ladies. If that's awesome. And then just a couple more quick questions. What would you consider your happiest moment is or was in your life? Like that stands out to you, like that was the greatest time ever.
It
one of them.
It all revolves around kids.
Yeah.
I guess the simple things. Once you become a parent, once you become a dad, I became a baby. Right? Like I didn't cry for years and years. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, just thinking about happy moments, I fill my eyes and I'm like, bro, chill. But it's all, last night my kids had a sleepover with their cousin at my house. And we're watching a movie, and my daughter just leans over and just starts rubbing my head. She goes, "You're the best dad ever." And I'm like, I know.
But always remember that.
But it's little moments like that, just compiled. It's moments with my kids, that make everything worth it. You have victories. Like we swept the podium at a race in Portland a couple weeks ago. that's awesome, right? You got all adrenaline of like your team succeeding, whatever, but like
That's not the.
it's just
it's
not
the
it.
true.
When you pick up your kids, you know, because I split custody. I've got like 50-50 custody with 2 different women. So, you know, you pick up your kids, and like when they run to you and give you a hug, that's the happiest moment. You know, like you see your kids open the door and run out, Dad, you know, that's what I live for.
That's awesome. Yeah, I agree. Yep.
Nice.
Yeah.
Any other questions you want to ask?
Well,
Cameron?
so like when you were playing publicly, I guess,
Yeah.
the guitar and stuff, did you ever have like issues with self-confidence or anything getting out on stage?
Yeah, for sure. So when Derek told me like, hey, we're going to be talking about self-confidence, I was like, bro, that's something that I've done so much therapy over. Like,
No kidding.
yeah, and I was like, that's you know, self-confidence is something I've always struggled with, but I can hide behind a guitar, right? And you know, we'd sing in church or whatever, and like I'd be like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap. My voice sounded totally different, you know. But like you put me with a guitar between me and the microphone, then like it's a different confidence level. You know, I don't know why, but it was just like a mask, you know. And I've had my humbling moments though on stage. Like we were playing the Iron County Fair, and we were doing "Don't Stop Believing," right? And so everyone knows "Don't Stop Believing," and there's the intro, where it's like diddle, 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 diddle. And then at the end of it, the cymbals go shh, and I'm just sitting there because that's like the intro. I don't play anything else until that point, and all of a sudden I hear the cymbals go and I look back. It's all on camera. I look back at the drummer and
Like, oh crap.
they're like, whoops, you know, and instantly I'm just like, oh, like I just shrunk, you know? And so I've had some humbling moments for sure. And so I do a little acting too for fun. And this last winter I filmed a movie. It's a decent sized movie. It's with Paramount Pictures. And we were filming it, and in the movie I played a guitar player, so not a far stretch for me to pretend, you know? And we actually were set up on a full stage. They had invited 300 college kids to fill this auditorium. There's a couple cute girls on the front row the whole time, like we're between breaks as they're resetting cameras, things like that. We're talking and whatever, and one of them says, well, how long have you been playing guitar for? I was like, I've been playing since about the year 2000. And she's like, oh, that's the year before I was born. And I was like, oh no! So that instantly like brought my I was like, man, I'm old, you know. But yeah, so I've had a few moments on stage for sure.
What is what is self-confidence? What do you guys?
I definitely think it's your opinion of your outward appearance, like how you portray to others is kind of how I see it as your self-confidence. Because if you don't have that portrayal in your mind, you're not going to be able to portray that to others.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it with that. Like, it's how you view yourself, and you really like write your own narrative of who you are or how other people see you when they could see you totally differently. But you think like, oh, they think my teeth look bad or my hair looks funny or I've got a big red beard, whatever, you know, like, and then it can eat at you for sure. Or you can see it as a positive, you know. But I think you nailed it with that definition.
Yeah, and that's, I mean, well, what do you feel is like? Because I know that there's self-confidence and self-esteem.
That's what I was gonna. Are those different? Or are they kind of the same? I don't know.
I definitely feel that they play into each other because your self-esteem is how you feel about yourself.
Okay.
And the self-confidence is how you portray how you feel about yourself.
Oh yeah. That's okay.
One's an inward, one's an outward kind of.
Yes, there we go.
Yeah.
Perfect.
That's perfect. So, going back to some therapy things, is that, did you go specifically for self-confidence, or is that?
I didn't
or did
start.
one thing lead to another?
I didn't start therapy till I was going through my first divorce, and it was actually right before we were separated. You know, we started as couples therapy, and it's something that like let's dive into it. You know, so there's things that I might say or talk about that like even my family hasn't heard. You know, so it's something that I've struggled with since I was like 13, 14 years old. You know, I've had body image issues, even, and for a guy to have body image issues, like that's.
I think more people have that than people realize, or than that people care to admit.
But it's a stigma, especially within our
Yeah,
male
exactly,
culture of
exactly.
like, oh, the dad bod's cool, you know, whatever. Now it's a thing, right?
Right,
but
right.
before it's like, you got a beer gut, you know, like,
Right.
Yeah.
you know.
Right.
But now it's the dad bod movement, which is great because it's a positive spin on having a belly, right?
Yeah.
But since I was little, like I've always just had issues with it, and then it turned into a full-on eating disorder. And again, sorry, Mom, I don't think you knew that, but you know, there's times I didn't eat food for days at a time, or if I did, as soon as I ate, I'd go throw it up because of how I viewed myself, which was true, as fact. I was out of shape, right? But
Right.
instead of doing something healthy, and again, when you're 13,
Yeah, it's
who wants to hit the gym every
Right,
day?
right.
Who want, you
It's
know,
different when you're a
and
kid.
I chose to be lazy and then be sick, you know. And it was a mental sickness, which then turned to a physical sickness, really, because it turned into anytime I would eat, even if I wanted to eat, then I would like, oh, my stomach hurts. I'm sick, you know. And so my stomach wasn't used to different foods, and it's something that to this day I still pay for. You know, there's certain foods, if I eat a ton of red meat, which I love it, right? Who
Yeah.
doesn't love a steak? But if I eat 2 or 3 steaks in a week and a hamburger or whatever, like I'm sick, I'm messed up,
Oh, no.
my stomach's done, you know? And so self-confidence is something that really started playing, you know, because through my first divorce, it wasn't the most beautiful thing. It was, like, it tore me up big time.
I'm
like
sure.
I got lower than I'd ever been before at that point. And in all honesty, at one point I left the house to end it all. Like I was done. And it's something that I never pictured myself getting that low, you know? But she moved on rather quickly, we'll say it that way.
yeah.
And it was summertime, and he's a good looking dude. We all get along great now. Like at baseball games, we'll sit together at baseball games. Like we have a good relationship now, right? Through a lot of therapy.
Yeah.
But like I saw myself as being like such a garbage person at this point in life, and it was summertime, and I saw them at the snow shack. We live in a tiny town, right? Like our town's a mile long. Like
Yeah.
you're going to run into each other. I saw them at the snow shack together, and my kids were there, and I was like, I've been replaced. Like, no need for me anymore, you know.
It'd be hard.
And because I was still in love with her, you know, I still wanted the marriage. I was still devastated, you know. And I saw him as being, I mean, he's 6'4", he's a naturally skinny dude, good looking tan dude, you know. And I just compared myself at, you know, 5'11" and pasty white, right? and so I that really tore me up. And then that's what really started everything in therapy, of like self-confidence issues, of like, hey, I do have a lot to offer somebody,
Yeah.
you know. And
Right.
and it really opened up the books for digging deep of what happened. And there's little things all throughout growing up, you know. My oldest brother, he was a star athlete, right? He was a runner, he was fast and great shape, and like I ended up, because of the eating disorder, I ended up, you know, in good shape and everything. And then I, you know, junior, senior year, got working out and started building muscle, things like that, doing it the right way.
Yeah.
But I really learned how to hate myself in that time period. And I always compared myself to others no matter what. And I think that's what kills our self-confidence. Yeah. If you only looked at yourself, you could really like pick out the positives of who you are. When you compare yourself to others, that's when you just go downhill so quick,
Yep.
you know. And through therapy, we dug 10 years back at that point, or further. I mean, shoot, man, we're old. That's 20 years ago. That was 20 years, you know, 13 is about when it started, and that was 20 years ago for us, you know. And so I really did a lot of, you know, a lot of my self-confidence has to do with physical attributes, body image issues, and I really did a lot of healing, and not all of it was positive healing.
Yeah.
You know, like after I was divorced, and from the point I got married the first time to the point I got divorced, dating apps were invented, right?
Yeah.
Those are fantastic, right? Like, swipe. Oh, cool, I got a date this weekend, you know? And that really, it helped my self-confidence, but it also hindered it because I used it in a bad way.
Right.
You know, in my mind, I hate to use the term manipulation, but like I'm probably guilty of it or it's the marketing side of me, right? Like I saw, oh hey, if I use this photo, I get more swipes. You know, so it was kind of like a strategy, and so I got
Selling yourself.
selling myself, you know, and I always knew, if I can get a girl to my house after a date, like, I know how I can kiss them, right? And so, like, a guitar sitting out happens to be sitting out when we get home, right?
Oh, you play?
Yeah, you play the guitar?
Oh,
I
shoot.
sure do, you know? And I knew the exact song that I could sing every time.
What song is it? Just curious.
Steal My Kisses, Ben Harper.
Oh,
Because
good one.
it's literally like, I always have to steal my kisses from you. And then they're like, they look at you right after, and you're like, let me put this guitar down. You know? Worked every time, you know. And I had that system, and it was not healthy. You know, it was the wrong side of image issues of like, look what I can do. And so there'd be times like I'd date a girl, hang out one time, ghost them, you know. And so self-confidence is actually like a fine line of like, you can have too much for sure, you know.
Yeah.
There's good confidence and there's
that's a good
bad
point.
confidence. So
Because there's a point where it becomes cocky.
yeah, and that's where I had got where I was like, I know what I got to do. I drive a bright red douchey Dodge Charger, like, you know, and that's another way to stay humble. And I've got another, you know, anecdote that I've been working on through therapy, literally as we speak of that. You both asked me when I got, you know, where's your charger? I blew the head gaskets in my Charger, and so normally I was like, as soon as it happened, I was like hopping on, you know, looking at cars to buy. And I was telling my therapy about it, and she is a different thinker. She's about our age too, so she can really like be like, she understands.
Yeah.
She's like, Cameron, you care so much about what people think about you. Your dad's offered you that 2006 Honda Civic with faded paint, interior's cracking, 308,000 miles,
Oh, dang.
but he's letting you use it while you fix your car. Fix your dang car. Don't just buy something. Don't just mask the problem.
Yeah.
Be able to live in the uncomfortable and drive that car because you care a lot about what cars, you know, like I filmed an episode with someone at our shop, and they're like, dude, where's your car? And I'm like, that faded crappy car. And they're like, oh, you know, and this is a guy who literally builds $500,000 cars all the time, you know? And so my therapist was like, you need to live in the uncomfortable state and deal with the trial of replacing your engine, doing all this, because in the long run it's going to be a lot cheaper than buying a new car, and drive that one, you know. So as I roll up to a drive-through or whatever, I flip the sun visor down so they can't see my face, and I try to throw the card out the window, you know.
I was gonna say, does the window work?
Yeah, the window works. The window works, but you know, it really has hit me over the last couple weeks of what a big blessing that old car with 1 million miles is, because if not, what would I do? You know,
Yeah.
and so I'm very grateful, obviously, to my dad to offer me the vehicle, but it took me a few weeks of driving it to really cut my ego back, to be like, it's okay that
Yeah.
people see you in this car.
Yeah.
They don't care, but in my mind, they cared. You know,
I feel like social media has created that problem too. Everyone, we talked about that on another episode, where on social media, typically you only see the best of everyone.
Yeah.
You know, everyone shows off the best of the best.
it's a
And
highlight reel.
Yeah, so I think that's created that comparing problem
Yeah, absolutely.
without people even realizing it.
Absolutely, and so self-confidence is something I still work on to this day. I don't know about you guys, you know.
Oh yeah, constantly, and that's interesting. We're going to dive into that too, but I want to touch on something that you mentioned just a few minutes ago. You said something about trust in yourself, but confidence defined is, quote, a firm trust, the feeling or belief that one can rely on someone or something. So adding the self part to that, self-confidence is believing in and relying on yourself, a firm trust in yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of, you mentioned some idea around that, but yeah, that's exactly what it is trusting yourself, trusting the process, and relying on yourself to get yourself through those difficult situations. But,
Yeah.
what is a confident person? I know you touched on some of those points, but as that question came up when we were going over the idea for this podcast, it took a lot of thought for me to.
I mean, instantly my mind goes to, I don't know if there's such thing as a confident person. What I've learned through therapy is we all have our battles. From the outside, you can think that guy has it all.
Yeah.
But when
That's
he
an
gets home,
interesting
when
point.
he gets home at night, maybe he beats himself up. Maybe he has a drug addiction. Maybe he doesn't have a good relationship. Maybe he's broke. Whatever it is, that's his demon that actually cuts him down. So he has to portray himself as better.
Yeah.
Because of social media, and that's one part of my job. And I just ran the numbers. Like, I've hit a ton of people on social media this year. Like, we're talking like 35 million people so far this year. And they see me and like, oh, I'm always on camera. Like, hey, everybody, it's Cameron from Speed Tech. And then like, I shut off the camera and I'm like,
Ooh.
you sucked. I was like, that was terrible.
Redo.
But like, I beat myself up all the time and I critique myself. We're always our own biggest critics, no matter what. And so you see people who might appear great on camera. They might have a nice car. They might have nice clothes. They might have a hot wife. I don't. I'm sitting at home by myself and I'm like, look at these two guys right here. They've both been married for, what? Almost 10 years for you probably?
14, about 8.
8? Yeah, and you 14, 15 years. And it's like, combined, both my marriages were 7 years. Like, what do they have that I don't have? Confidence is killed in comparison. It's that simple.
Yeah.
Yep.
Very interesting. I like that. What would let's rephrase that question then. How can someone work on, what are some things they can do to build that confidence then? I wonder.
An exercise that worked for me is literally like with the car, learning to live in an uncomfortable situation. Something that hurts your confidence, learn to live in it, but something for me is literally lists, like pros and cons lists, positive or negative lists.
I love making lists. I'm all about that.
Go back 7 years when I was starting my therapy journey of, confidence, and it was a different therapist at this time, and it was a therapist through the church, and they had me write a list, right, of like, write your positive attributes, the things that you do well, or that someone may see that you do well. You might not think it's something that is a good thing, but maybe Dan thinks it's a good thing. So write it down about yourself. And literally, all of a sudden, I had 50 things in the good category and 8 in the bad. And he was like,
See?
do I need to say anything else?
Yeah.
And I was like, but
Speaks
I don't
for
believe
itself.
this always. Like, confidence is also believing the things that others may see in you.
Yeah.
You can tell me like, dude, that song you sang was fantastic, and I'll be like, yeah, but actually I missed a chord here and here, and you would never know.
Yeah, no one would know.
But like, confidence is believing what other people see in you. And that comes back to the trust, like you mentioned earlier. Like, you have to trust others. You as my friend, like, you tell me, hey, you did this great, or hey, you could improve in this. And that's another thing on confidence, is taking constructive criticism.
I think
And
that's
not
hard
letting
for-
it just like
yeah.
stab you in the heart every time, because when people care about you,
They want you to
they want you to do better.
improve. Yeah.
So if, they show up and you cooked them a burger and you're like, dude, that was terrible. Like, just joking around, and this is a real life scenario from like a week and a half ago. But, and I'm like, oh crap, I totally butchered that. Like, they didn't mean it wrong. They were just like,
I think the same could be said for the opposite of accepting compliments too.
yeah,
I
that
think-
sucks.
yeah.
I hate that.
I think naturally most people are like, oh no, it wasn't that good, but yeah, I think so. Accepting compliments is also part of that.
Yeah. I don't know. So Dan, with you, like, you and I, we kind of ran in different crowds in high school a
We
little
did.
bit. I mean, again, it's a
Are you
small
the same
town.
age?
I think you're a
We
year
are-
older.
But we're in the same grade. We were in the same,
I
because,
would graduate in 08.
oh no, so I was 07. So yeah, I was a
Okay,
year
so
older.
you're older.
Yeah, okay.
So with you, like with confidence, like with your friend group, I don't know if it was the same like with me, because I ran with more like the preppy kids, right?
And I was the nerdy kid.
I didn't say it. But, like with me, so this comes back to living in that preppy world where everything is so appearance based.
Yeah.
Did you and your friends, like, did you guys ever struggle with confidence issues within your friend group?
So within our friend group, I mean, like, we were pretty tight knit. My friend group was maybe 6 kids, 7 kids at most. But we didn't really have like the confidence issues amongst us. Like we compared ourselves to everyone else.
Right.
Because, you know, it's like, oh, you know, I wish I had, because I drove a Ford Escort when I was going to school. Okay, that's like the most uncool car you can have. No offense to you guys that like Ford Escorts.
I drove a big van.
And
Yeah.
but you know, we had all these people driving these, you know, nice cars, nice trucks, and like you'd drive your dad's truck in every once in a while,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, dude, that's so cool.
Yeah.
And you know, and it's like, man, I wish I had something like that. But you know, everybody's in different circumstances, and you can never really have what everybody else has. So we compared ourselves a little bit to others, but it wasn't so much within our group. Was it more like just people within your group comparing to each other, or?
For me, it was because the guys I always hung out with, I'm not a tall dude by any means. Like, I'm 5'11", right? But at that point, like, let's say my junior year, I was 5'11", and I'd got down to like 145 pounds, you know? And the guys that I was hanging out with were all like anywhere from 5'6" to 5'8". They're, you know, on the shorter side for sure. And I remember going to the mall. We'd go to American Eagle back when that was a thing. and we'd all pick out polos or whatever, and they'd wear a size small, and I'd get a size medium, and I was like, God dang you, whale, you know, like, wearing a medium, you know, and that kicked my butt. I always compared myself to them, you know, and so I felt like I was always just one step below, you know, because I didn't wear a small shirt, and I'm like, I look at it now, and I'm like, small, like, that's girly, you know, but back then it was as tight as you could wear it, and you know, all that kind of thing. And so there was a lot of comparison within our friend group. You know, you went to Pineview?
Yeah.
How was it there? Like,
you know what? I tell my wife this all the time. In high school, I was like the most self-confident person ever. I didn't give 2 craps what anyone thought.
Yeah.
I was like my own person. I ran around with like every crowd, and you know, I was on student council and stuff, and I don't know, but it was weird because after high school, after I got back from my church service mission, something flipped, and I just like turned into this quiet, reserved person, and I don't know what to attribute that to, but it's like in high school I was like this totally outgoing person, and I kind of changed. Like I still consider myself kind of outgoing,
For
but
sure.
not near as much as in high school. It was interesting. I don't know.
I've been talking to a girl from high school recently, and we were hanging out the other day and really talking. I mean, we've both been divorced multiple times at this point. We're in that fun category, you know, and we've been talking about like how bad it beats up your confidence and things, and she's like, you're a total different guy than you were in high school, and I'm like,
Yeah.
who was I in high school? Like,
What do you mean by that?
Yeah, and she's like, and she literally said the confidence you have, and I was like, interesting. I felt like
So she was saying you were more confident.
I'm more confident
now.
Now.
Oh,
and,
really?
And she's like, you know, you were more reserved and blah blah blah. Like, she's like, the conversations we're having now, you know, we could have never had. And I said, well, also the conversations we're having now is about our crappy life experiences.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
and we've learned from them. And so, do you feel like now you are more confident now that you kind of got out of that quiet stage? Do you feel you're more confident than you were?
Yeah, in some areas, that's something I'm actively working on. But you know, when my brother passed away a year and a half ago, and I think I kind of had a waking up moment to like, man, maybe what if I pass away like right now?
Yeah.
But I think a lot has changed in that past year and a half because I had a lot of conversations with my wife, and I went to counseling too, and I told my wife and my counselor, I'm like, I don't know who I am. I don't know what my identities are as far as like what do I like, what hobbies do I like, so I don't know, from the time I got married until when my brother passed away, I think I was just kind of on auto drive.
Yeah.
I was just working, I was trying to grow my business, and that's kind of all I knew. But I think in the last year and a half, I've really started exploring hobbies and trying to build skills in other areas. And so I think I have grown a lot in my self-confidence in the last year and a half.
So do you think like building hobbies and doing things that you enjoy and progressively learn to be better at, do you think that helps your confidence? Like
100%.
I know you do like your trees that we see behind you, you know, like
Yeah,
which is
awesome
freaking
stuff.
cool, you know.
Yeah.
And so like, and that comes also back to there's multiple steps to that of like finding a way to express yourself, learning to do better, and when you see improvements, you look back at the first tree you made and you're kind of like, oh, yeah. Now you look at it now and you're like, gosh dang, like that's a cool thing, you know. And so then it helps build your confidence. Or when I played the guitar when I was 10 years old versus when I'm 30, like obviously a big difference, you know. Do you think like hobbies improve confidence?
I'm a huge advocate for that. I think it gives you, I don't know, it gives you like fulfillment, and it, like you said, you can see your progression in that skill or in that area of your whatever hobby you're exploring. But I don't know. It makes. What do you think?
Well, I think it's not just hobbies. I mean, when you get versed in anything, the more you know about it, the more you're willing to talk about it.
Right.
And
Right.
so you're going to be more outgoing, and
Yeah.
that kind of helps boost your self-confidence because people are coming to you asking questions
Yeah.
about those things. So it kind of builds you up, and then that makes you more self-confident. And
I sound like a loser because this is the only hobby I have right now. And I've talked about it so much on these podcasts, but my therapist and my wife, they both said, you need to go find a hobby, man. You're like driving crazy. But so I'm like, well, I used to weld a little bit in high school. And so I reached out on Facebook and I found this professor. He teaches at some of the schools in St. George, and he's a welding professor. I said, hey, how much will you charge me to use 100 hours of your time? I want to spend 100 hours and learn how to weld.
That's freaking cool.
20 hours into it, and at first I'm like, man, this is hard. But now I can I'm starting to pick it up,
Yeah.
and I feel fulfilled. And like Dan said, I'm like starting to reach out to other people that are in the welding industry, and it's super fun.
Yeah, but
And-
like even think about, because you know I see Dan on the yard sale pages here in town where they're like, "Hey, I need my garage door fixed," and Dan's like, "I got you."
Yeah,
You know, but like
exactly.
if someone's like, "Hey, I need something welded. I need
Yeah.
my bike frame welded for my kid or whatever," and you can be like, "Hey, I can do that for you."
20, 30 more hours, I got you.
Yeah. You know, but
No,
it's a sense of
exactly.
fulfillment.
And fulfillment, and I mean, I learned something new. It's
Yeah.
fun. I mean, and that's kind of where my midlife crisis happened during my brother's passing. Is like, I don't, like, what do I know? Like, I don't have any skills. I know business, but that's it. So I think learning a new skill, hobby, new trade,
Yeah.
if you want to learn something musical, there's so much out there in life.
And so then I think that even turns to the next part of what builds self-confidence in my book is service.
Yeah.
I know, you know, all of us being raised in the church and different things, like it's very service-based, right?
Yeah.
And so we've all kind of got that in our DNA a little bit.
Mhm.
But like as an adult, taking time from your busy schedule, even if it's like, okay, I can go help you for an hour, whatever it is.
Right.
Like after that hour, like to me, it helped, you know, serving others and seeing their gratitude. When someone's grateful for what you do, it boosts your confidence naturally. Like the endorphins and the dopamine that it releases in your brain, it actually helps boost your confidence, whether you think
Yeah.
it does or not.
There's nothing like receiving that feeling from serving someone and doing it like naturally. Like it's I agree with that.
Which then goes back to our very, very first part of this episode is talking about what your dad does. Like, you know, the service that your dad's done for years and years and years. You know, even to me when I was building my house, hey, Delbert, can I borrow your tractor? And he's like, absolutely, come get
Yeah,
it. You know, and he was just like, here's how to do it, here's how to run it. Any questions, give me a call.
Yeah.
You know, I was super grateful for him, you know, serving me in that point. I don't know if it helped his confidence, you know, because it's such a natural thing for him to do.
Right.
But I do feel like you know, people like your father who've got decades of service, like
Right.
they're just a happier person.
Right. I agree.
that, and when you're working to serve others, you focus less on yourself.
Yeah.
So I mean, of course you're gonna be happier because you're not trying to nitpick
Yeah, you're
yourself
not-
the whole time.
Exactly.
You're focusing on helping others, and I mean that's one nice thing about the Positive Tribe is that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to help everyone, talking about self-confidence, talking about habits, talking all these different things that we've talked about and we're going to be talking about. It's to help everyone, including ourselves.
Yeah.
So I definitely think that it's a good thing to do, and service is 100% selfless.
So what do you guys implement in your life? Like what other things that we've potentially missed that like you do to help your confidence, because everyone has their own ways of building confidence. This beard, like, this is a confidence builder for me, even though it's red. No offense against gingers, but
Ginger power.
but it's literally, we all have egos, right? Like, no matter what, even if we don't want to, we have some sort of an ego. Because I do so much with social media and things with the company, that, you know, on all the videos, like, I've been on TV shows that I used to like watch. I've met people, you know, like, or I've been on shows with people who I used to like stand in line to get their autograph. Now I've got their number in my cell phone, right? But because of like these opportunities that my job has afforded me, I was standing in line. I was at an airport. Are you Cameron from Speed Tech? And I was like, what? You know, like,
Would you like my autograph?
yeah. And they're like, oh yeah, I saw you on that episode with Gas Monkey Garage and blah blah blah, and I recognized the beard. And so I'm like, maybe it ain't that bad, you know. And
awesome.
and there's been a couple times now in my career doing this that this beard has got me recognized. So now it's a confidence thing. You know, of like,
It's
I got
a trademark too.
It's my trademark, you know, of like the red beard is there, you know. And so I used to hate that it was red because I'm blonde, you know, and I'm like, I don't want a red beard. Like, I think a blonde beard at this point would look creepy, but like, I've something that I used to dislike. I've found that I now like it, and I'm confident about it. As dumb as like something as aesthetic as a beard might be, it's a confidence builder for me.
Right.
So, you know, is there something that you guys do though, to get back to that? Like, what do you guys implement that others may seem as something weird as grooming your beard? Like, what's something that y'all do to like build your confidence?
I don't know if it's weird with you guys, but you guys may do it, but some people may find it weird. But I talking to myself, you know, I talk to myself a lot, and
Sometimes you get the best responses.
I know. I mean, I don't know. It's just like, I don't know. No, not like creepy talk to myself, but like every morning I'll, you know, kind of that look in the mirror thing and try and
Self-affirmations.
Yeah, self-affirmations and try and build that self-confidence every morning. But
yeah.
So, do you have any?
So I kind of set routines. I kind of do a lot of the same things.
Yeah, I think that's smart.
Because if I do the same things every day, then it's less I have to think about focusing on, and that gives me more time to, you know, focus on other things that I'm going to be doing throughout the day, and then I can provide, like, so when I go to work, I'll get up, get in my car, drive halfway to St. George, stop at the gas station. I'll get a drink, and then I'll go into work. And I do that every morning. That doesn't change. So it's like I'm not trying to think of what I'm going to be doing, but then when I get to work, it's like, then I can focus on, you know, what I need to do at work instead of like, oh, you know, I need to stop, I need to get a drink, I need to do all this stuff.
Right.
You know, it's just more just creating a habit so that I have more power to focus on other things. Even on the weekends, that's a bad addiction. I'm not gonna lie. But I just love.
You can go back and watch our habit episode.
Yeah, I need to go back to that habit episode. But you know, it's just by creating a habit that, you know, it kind of takes away. Well, let's go to like famous people. Mark Zuckerberg. He's only got maybe like 6 or 7 different shirts. They're almost the same color.
Right.
And that's because he knows that if he doesn't have to pick a shirt, he can just grab one, put it on. He knows it's going to look good because it's the same shirt. He doesn't have to focus his brain power on that, and he can focus on creating new things.
I never knew that.
Yeah.
So a guy that has hundreds of billions of dollars
wears the same shirt.
And then this guy right here that does not have hundreds of billions of dollars. I own over 40 flannels.
Yeah.
I collect jerseys, and so I have like 50 jerseys, and then who knows how many t-shirts. I probably have 250 shirts.
Yeah.
In my house right now, I've got 2 closets, and they're both full, like in my room. It's a good thing I'm not married, actually, because she wouldn't have any room. But that's an interesting fact.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like when I first got married, I was the same way. I had a walk-in closet. The shelf, I had one of just my dress shirts, I had one of suits, I had one of my normal shirts, and then I had my other stuff that was just miscellaneous.
Yeah.
And like I had probably 30 some odd ties to go with my shirts, and I had tie tacks, pins, everything. Like,
right.
And but that's kind of what kind of built my self-esteem at the time, you know.
For sure.
Because it's like I dress nice, I portray nice, and it kind of, people are more willing to go say hi, things like that. So, you know, it's like that helped build my self-esteem at that point.
Which honestly, for me, that's actually been a booster for me. And I think we don't, you know, it's okay to focus on your outward appearance.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, exercising is better than any antidepressant you can get on. Like, if you're at the gym, again, the endorphins and the dopamine and things that are released in your brain are better than what antidepressants can give you. And so you're
100%.
releasing that, and then you're going to have a result. You're going to be in better shape. You're going to, whatever your physical goal may be, right? And so it's okay to focus on your outward appearance and groom yourself. And because I notice, like, with me, when I'm more depressed, like,
You don't take care of yourself.
I don't comb my hair. I'll
Yeah.
just put a hat. No offense for wearing a hat today, but
I'm depressed.
but like I'll wear a hat for a month straight. I'll notice, holy crap, dude, you haven't showered in 4 days.
Yeah.
You know, like it's the stupid little things like that. Not stupid, because depression's real.
Yeah.
But like I notice, like, I don't groom myself as well when I'm depressed.
Yeah.
And so caring about, you know, your clothes. I take it how it sounds. I love fashion. You know, like I like to look good. I'll wear things in this town. I remember the first time I wore these exact pants.
I bet Enterprise talked
They were
about
like,
that.
"You're wearing
Skinny jeans."
tan skinny jeans,"
Who's this
you know.
guy?
And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm wearing tan skinny jeans," you know. But like, I've learned to be confident in it, and I've been complimented a lot on how I dress or things. And so, you know, I remember seeing you, Dan, on social media, and you'd always post pictures in nicer clothes, doing normal things, and I'm like, I dig it, you know. Like, he's wearing dress shoes hiking, like, a little weird, but you know,
But
like,
yeah.
it's your thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's not the most comfortable thing, but it's your thing, you know. And be who you are and embrace it, and learn to love it. And something is dumb, like, you do need to, I keep using bad words like dumb and stupid, things that I tell my kids not to say, but you know, for me, it might sound as simple, that's a better term, you know, as simple is, you know, so my second ex-wife, she went to hair school and things, so she always cut my hair, right? Get divorced, and I'm like, well,
Now what?
now what? You know, and so I started going to this barber shop, and every 2 weeks, literally my appointments every 2 weeks for the last 2.5 years or whatever, I go and I pamper myself. I take care of myself because it makes me feel good. You know, they trim my beard, they scrub it, they straight razor, they wash my hair, they rub my shoulders, they wax my nose, as bad as that sucks. You know, like, they take care of me, and the girls that take care of me there, like, I literally got invited to one of their weddings at this point.
That's
you know,
cool.
like we've become friends, but like, they don't know just their role as a barber, how much it helps my confidence, you know? And so I've found something for me that I've been able to pamper myself, take care of myself, appreciate myself, and it builds my confidence, you know? And so, like, what do you do to appreciate yourself?
Well, you got me thinking. This is one of the things that I found while I was studying self-confidence this week. Studies show that self-confidence is fluid, meaning it changes by the day, by the week, by the hour, by the month. So in one moment, I could be the most self-confident person in the world, and then something happens, or I notice something, I'm like, oh, okay, well, never mind, let's forget that. So, so I don't know. Where it changes so much, and I've never realized that, but it does. Now I can see that myself. But I'm starting to step into the world of what you're explaining, of taking care of myself, because I never used to buy new nice clothes. My wife always did that for me, and she'd have to drag me to the store because I'm like, I'm not spending that much money on a pair of pants. But now that I've gotten into that world of slightly nicer clothes and stuff, I'm like, I like it. I feel better when I'm wearing a nice shirt, something that's not tattered up, and so I'm starting to step into the world that you explained. I think that's kind of what I need to do more of. And you know, I started going to the gym. I haven't been for a little while, but I notice when I go to the gym, I feel a lot better when I go that week. So I think self-care is very important.
Yeah.
And just you know, as kind of a question, like, what do you guys like to do for your self-care? For what do you like about yourselves that you want to do? You know, just let us know in the comments below. That's because we'd like to hear what you guys think.
And that also is a big thing, is hearing other people and implementing other people's exercises, right?
Mhm.
As in talking to yourself in the mirror, right? Like when I was married, one thing that I knew my ex really liked is I'd leave her notes on the mirror.
Yeah.
So when she would wake up, because I always got up a little bit before her, whatever, have a nice day, babe, I like your butt, whatever it was, right? So I started doing that to myself, because I realized, like,
Yeah, writing it down and talking to yourself.
how happy it made her. So now that I'm by myself, why can't I make myself that happy? So I
Right.
write myself a note in the mirror.
Nice butt.
Nice butt. You know, like your butt. And then when in the morning when I wake up and I'm groggy, I get in the shower and I look up and I'm like,
dang, I do have a nice butt.
my butt ain't that bad, you know? But it's a good way. It's something that I saw, an exercise that I did for someone else that I've implemented for myself. And so you can take it and reverse it. Something that someone does for you, or something that you see someone else doing, and implement it into your life. And so, like, when you guys do leave the comments below, like, that's something that everybody can benefit from.
Yeah, so read through them, and because like he said, you can implement them yourself.
Yeah.
And that's actually a wonderful way to improve your self-confidence. So
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Heck yeah.
But, well, I think that just about sums it up.
Covered
I
it all?
mean, wow, that was very, very informative, very thorough. We appreciate you being on, Cameron.
Yeah.
That was wonderful hearing because back when we were going to school, I thought you were like the most self-confident guy out there.
Sure as heck was.
And, I
Fake it
got
till
that
you make
now.
it,
But
yeah.
it's like, that's the thing, is a lot of people don't know what other people are going through.
Yeah.
And so it's like, sometimes you just need to reach out. If you're going through a tough time, just reach out, talk to somebody, let somebody else know,
Yeah.
because that'll help.
As simple as, you know, I can't remember who it is, and I apologize for not knowing, but there's somebody, a podcast that I listen to, so I should know, that they have a reminder set for like every Tuesday at 3 p.m. reach out to somebody, you know, and so they reach out to someone just randomly. They'll scroll through their phone, hit a contact, and just be like, hey, hope you're doing well. You know, you never
It's
know.
powerful. People don't realize that.
You never know when you reach out to someone how that can help them or how it can help you, you know. And so, like you say, reach out. Other people's opinions are always good to hear.
Yeah.
So I appreciate y'all like inviting me, and you know, I listened to a couple episodes, and Derek and I were talking, and we're like, let's do it, you know.
Yeah.
So you know, this is a cool concept because the world is an ugly freaking place right now, and all we do is hate each other, hate ourselves, and
Too much negativity.
so much negativity in the world that you know, the real pandemic is negativity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. I agree.
And so for you guys for starting this movement, especially in this small town, you know, I know we're wrapping up, but like, small towns are good and bad for confidence.
Yeah.
And I've definitely
Everyone
been on
knows
the bad
everyone.
side of that,
Right.
but I've also been on the good side. And so that, you know, you guys are advertising locally of, hey, come talk to us, you know. One thing I said when I was going through my first divorce, as bad as it was, and the rumors I heard about myself that plain weren't true, I said, if someone would just take the time to talk to me, not about me,
Yep.
Yeah.
That's
that would have helped so
Yeah.
much, you know, and then we could have found a common ground, even if we disagreed.
Yep.
And so I appreciate that you guys are making an open platform for people to really build a more positive community, you know, here for us in Enterprise, because we need it.
yeah.
So, thank you.
No,
Yeah.
appreciate you coming
Yeah.
on.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, if there's nothing else, you know, subscribe, like, follow us on all the platforms. And do you have anything else?
No, I mean,
Awesome.
that was perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching. Y'all have a good day.
Thanks.